I'm bringing the meeting to order. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And first order of business, we have several minutes. The first minutes are from our work session of January 4th. Is there a motion?
I move to accept the minutes as written for January 4th.
Okay, Zach moves. Is there a second?
Second.
John seconds. Any discussion?
Yeah,
Seeing
I had a
none?
question. I was just wondering if Steve and Zach got a chance to talk about the ACH costs for the Plymouth, the police department. I mean.
So Chief emailed me some information, and we need to set up a call to talk with them. It's pretty weird. So we need to set up that call, right? I'm remembering that correctly.
Correct. Yes.
Thanks.
I think part of the issue with that, Marianne, is that we don't do much volume, so we got to pay a little bit higher, a percentage, because we just don't take in that much money with the parking enforcement.
I
Gotcha.
think that I still think we're getting a bad deal on that contract, but let's, do you have the contact information there, or should we work through Ann? Who's the right person to get us a meeting?
I think Ann has all the contact information, correct, Ann?
That's right. I will get that to you, Zach.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none. John, your vote.
Aye.
Mary Ann,
I
Zach,
Aye.
Neil,
Aye.
and I abstain. I was absent. Okay, it carries. All right, the next minutes are from our January 11th work session minutes. Is there a motion?
make a motion. We accept the meeting minutes from January 11th.
I think John beat you, but you were very complete.
I was
so,
verbose.
so Mary Ann moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Any discussion? Seeing none. Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Mary Ann,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Bill, aye. And lastly, we have January 11th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Which have been sealed.
I make a motion, we accept the January 11th, 2021 regular meeting minutes as written. Second.
All right. So John moved, Neil seconded. Any discussion?
I didn't get a copy of the non-public section unless it's in here and I don't see it.
I did not get a copy of the non-public.
Sealed.
Non-public are sealed.
We don't get a distribution of them to
No.
review them.
Or if they're sealed.
So how do we approve the sealed minutes if that's the case?
Don't. It's just
Thought that
an
they were sealed,
announcement.
they're sealed from the public. They're not sealed from the board.
They could, if they're sealed, they really should not be going out of the building. You're welcome to come and see them here if you want.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, so we had a move in a
We had a
second.
John and we had a Neil.
Okay, John and Neil. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Mary Ann,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Bill, Aye. Okay. The select board will meet on the following dates. We're going to have, and our regular meetings are at 6 p.m. We're going to have a second budget hearing. It's going to be basically reading the petition warrant articles and second hearing if needed for the budget. And it's going to be Thursday, February 4th, 2021
At 6 p.m.
at 6 p.m. Thank you. Also at 6 p.m. on Monday, February 8th, 2021 and Monday, February 22nd, 2021, we'll have regular select board meetings. Work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m. and all the above meetings will be held via Zoom, and you can find out all information at the town's website at www.plymouth-nh.org. Citizens wishing to be listed on the select board's agenda should notify the town hall before 12 p.m. the Friday before the scheduled meeting. Reopening of town offices. Town of Plymouth continues to follow the governor's orders and CDC's updates and recommendations very closely regarding COVID-19. At this time, the state of emergency order 72 under section 18 of executive order 2020-04 has been extended for an additional 21 days from the original date of January 15, 2021. Due to the concerns of the COVID-19 virus and by the agreement of the town's emergency management director, town offices will remain closed to the public until February 22nd, 2021. Please note, as we respond to this unprecedented and rapidly changing situation, the above plans may change at any time in the future. We expect to receive regular updates and will make every attempt to keep you informed. Please continue to check our website and our Facebook page for up-to-date planning and information. Must I? I think I must, but, and if you need something, please don't hesitate to call the Selectman's office at 536-1731 from 8 until 4:30, or the town clerk's office at 536-1732, and that's available 8:30 to 4 p.m. And also the tax collector's office at 536-4733, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Is Bonnie on board?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, wow.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, Bonnie, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And you?
I'm doing okay.
All right.
So far, so good. I'm sorry you had to step off the planning board, but you know, there's always a door open for you if you wish to come back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, Bonnie, I want to thank you for your service on the planning board and with the town, and I have a plaque for you.
You do?
I do. And if you
Wow.
had Zoom, you'd be able to see it. It's a lovely plaque.
Well, I'm looking at you on TV right now.
Okay. Well, in that case, there is your plaque. And it states, presented to Bonnie L. Sears in recognition of your dedicated service to the town of Plymouth while serving as planning board member from 2017 to 2020. And it's presented by Selectmen William Bolton, Marianne Barnsley, John Randlett, Zach Terrell, and Neil McIver. So thank you very much, Bonnie, and we very much appreciate your help with our town.
Well, thank you. Anytime I can do anything to help. And this is a very nice surprise. And thank you all very much.
All right. Well,
Okay. Do you need me for anything else, or?
unless you want to hear about the budget coming up, then no, you can go, I guess.
Oh, you're talking about the budget tonight?
Yeah, we're going to have a hearing in 5 minutes.
Well, I think I'll listen for a little bit then.
All right.
Thank you.
Well. All right. I appreciate it. Well, thanks, Bonnie.
Yep.
Well, that was going to be next on the agenda, but we'll find a 7-minute thing to talk about. Oh,
Oh, could I ask a question?
yeah.
I was under the impression that Plymouth Village Water and Sewer were on the agenda. And for an update on the wastewater, the COVID presence, the study that they have been doing, is that not taking place?
That was a good segue. It's next.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So, so I appreciate that, Scott, and actually Jason's here too. I see him on board. So would you care to kick that off?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. So a few weeks ago, probably more than a few weeks ago, we started talking about the presence of COVID in the wastewater systems throughout the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District region. And Dr. Ebner actually brought this to our attention, and it really interested me. So I reached out to Jason and Jay at Plymouth Village Water and Sewer, and they've been doing testing for a period of time. And that actually, the funding for that expired on December 29th. So between Plymouth Village Water and Sewer and myself, we've been looking for grant opportunities, of which we haven't had any luck at this point. But I think it would be very important for Jay and Jason to give a brief overview of what their studies were, the findings, and some of the things that we possibly could use as mitigation tools moving forward. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Jason and Jay.
All right, thanks.
Good evening. My name is Jason Randall. I'm the superintendent of Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District, And as Scott had mentioned, we had kind of heard about some testing in wastewater back over the summer that some other larger systems were doing, and we decided to find out some additional information on how to get involved in that. And we were one of the handful of communities in New Hampshire that had the privilege to work with UNH. There was a handful of communities that worked with Dartmouth Hitchcock to actually sample and analyze our wastewater for the SARS-CoV-2 biomarkers. So there's 2 biomarkers for the virus that are found in wastewater. And, at that time, it was unknown if the virus was active or inactive in wastewater. There's still ongoing research to determine that. But we did start testing. We did hook up with UNH, Dr. Mao's lab back in August, and began sampling the wastewater coming into our treatment plant. So the wastewater coming into the plant's called the influent, which is a collaboration of all the wastewater collected throughout the community. So our wastewater collection system spans pretty much north to the Campton town line along Route 3, to the west out to Tenny Mountain, all along Tenny Mountain Highway, the residential areas within the village district, Highland Street corridor, and also over onto the Holderness side, serving the Holderness School and PSU facilities north and south River Road. So over that time, we tested twice a week. We took composite samples, which were samples over a 24-hour period, and we submitted those to the university for testing. And I'm not sure if anyone's able to put I don't know if they have the data that I submitted that we can show on the screen. Can we pull that up, or I can screen share?
Andrew's listening.
Am I able to screen?
Oh, you should be able to.
Okay.
You should be all set to do it now if you wanted to.
Sure. Excellent. Thank you. Can everyone see this graph?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So this is our actual data, which is in the bars, and it's overlaid onto the town's current infections and cumulative infections. So as you could see, we started back in August. You can see along the bottom, and we tested twice a week all the way through the end of December. And over this time, We started off fairly low. Numbers were fairly low back in August, September. We did see some increases over the Columbus Day weekend. It was our kind of our first spike in town. And we noticed that in the wastewater, which really we didn't really see in the caseload. So that to us was an indication that there may have been folks in town that were asymptomatic that didn't necessarily get picked up as reported cases. And then as we went into November timeframe, we saw a significant spike with an outbreak in town, I believe at a few of the facilities. And we noticed that significantly higher than any of the previous data we collected. And as you could see, the red dots here as the current infections increase corresponding to what we actually saw in the wastewater. And it actually didn't peak here for about a week or so after we saw the peak in the wastewater. So this tells us that our wastewater analysis is an early indicator of the virus being shed throughout town, which then could be pre-symptomatic infections or folks that are infected but haven't reported it yet or haven't gone and got tested.
Hey, Jason.
And
Jason,
yes. Yeah.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut you off at this point because we're supposed to have started our budget hearing. Would you be able to complete this when we come back to you?
Sure.
Yeah,
we can hang on.
However long it takes. So hopefully it's not going to be too terribly long. But sorry about that. But we got to kind of stick to the schedule.
Sure, not a problem.
All right. All right. It's 6:17. I'm opening the public hearing for our 2021 draft budget. And I think we'll do it the way we've done it in years past. We've got the budget committee and the heads of departments online as well. So if there are any questions, they'll be here to address any information that you might need. So what I'll do is, I guess, take it page by page.
Yep.
And I'll just run through the first one, which is the executive account, and page 1. And does anyone have any questions or need for clarification on page 1? Oh, we've got Amy Lee.
Hi, how are you guys?
Well, how about yourself?
Good. I have a question about the special part-time selectman. So it's up $28,000. I'm just curious if that was a line item that was moved, or if you could explain to me what that is.
We had a full-timer that left, and we replaced that full-timer with 2 part-timers instead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Man, I wish that was our budget. Any other questions on page 1? All right, page 2. We have election registration, vital stats, and financial administration. Any questions or concerns? All right, seeing no indication. We'll go to page 3. Include property appraisal and contracted services and legal and other. Seeing nothing, I'll go to page 4. Planning and zoning and building inspection, code enforcement.
I had a question about that one as well, Bill.
Okay.
Is the planning and development director and the planning assistant, is that a new position?
What was that last part? I missed it.
Is the planning assistant a new position that was hired?
Yeah, the planning and development director. The planning assistant was a position that's been around for probably a year.
Okay. And then the planning development director, why such a increase in his salary?
Actually, it was a decrease. It was okay. Well, actually, it's up 29,497, but that's interesting.
The
'Cause-
planning director, I'm sorry, the planning assistant last year was budgeted as the planning and development director. And then the actual director was hired. So therefore you see an increase there.
So the planning and development director actually took on some of the, like the zoning, some of the things that our building inspector and zoning enforcement used to do. So the building inspection zoning enforcement has been cut down to part-time, and the rest of that went to the planning and development director, which we used to have a planning director who had salary based on that amount, and then we had lost her. So when we had somebody else filling the position, they weren't certified like our new planning and development director is. So we just moved some monies around between building inspection, zoning, and the planning and zoning.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You can see that pretty clearly if you look at that next.
Yeah, I saw that at the bottom, Zach. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And just to make clear though, if you have a question, you can either use the toggle down below to raise your hand or just interrupt. And we'll address it. So, okay, that's page 4. Any other questions? Seeing none, we have page 5, general government buildings and cemeteries. Okay. Seeing no questions on page 6. Insurance not otherwise allocated, advertising and regional association, and the start of the PD.
I had a question about that as well, Bill. Can you explain to me what insurance not otherwise allocated is?
That is going to be workers' comp insurance. And it's going to be general liability insurance.
Okay.
Those are not divided out between the departments. They're paid out of that particular lines there.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we will continue on page 7 with the police department. Okay, and page 8 with parking budget and the dispatch budget, the start of the dispatch. And we have Amy, please.
I do. How many people for dispatch, the regular wages, how many people does that cover?
We have 4 full-time, 2 part-time dispatchers.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Chief.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? Okay. Page 9. Police resource officer and the ambulance. Start. Yes, Amy Lee.
Thanks. I hope I'm not the only one that has questions, but I don't mind asking. The training wages for the ambulance, can you explain to me what that entails? What sort of training that entails, please?
Thanks, Amy. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So the training wages for ambulance covers EMS activities, vehicle extrication, rescue from heights, all of those things that we get called for on the ambulance. There's an increase there to upgrade one of our EMTs to a paramedic level.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? And Amy, those are, that item is on page 10 of my copy, but any other questions on either ambulance or fire department, the beginning of the fire department's budget on page 10? Okay. Page 11, continuation of the fire department budget.
I'm assuming that all those training expenses are for the same sort of thing, Tom. Is that correct?
So on the fire side, it's, fire related activities.
Okay.
And there's also, the money for the paramedic is split between the two budgets. So you'll see an increase, for instance, in training wages for fire, because that medic comes out of 50% out of each budget.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Is that Frank or who's down the
Lucas,
lower, Lucas?
Lucas. Did you have a question?
Are you Frank?
We can't,
Yeah, that's Frank
You're-
McLeod.
You're,
Okay.
oh, it's
we can't
Frank.
hear you.
You're muted.
I have a general statement. I don't think it's appropriate yet. I'll wait till
Okay.
we get
Okay.
there.
Thought his hand went up.
All right. So any others on page 11? Seeing none. Page 12, which is emergency management and highway department, beginning of.
Amy's got her hand up.
Yep.
I do have another
Amy?
question. How many people for the regular wages for the highway department? How many people is that on the payroll? And then my second question is special part-time highway. What does that specifically mean?
Okay. Joe, you want to field
I'll
that?
try. I don't know if I'm on. Can you see me on board?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So is 6 of us in all in the part. So part-time I have just a part-time secretary. And right now she's only 10 hours, but in the next budget we're gonna try to up that.
Also, in your part-time wages, Joe, you have a part-time part-time winter help in there.
Right, he runs the sidewalk tractor and then he works for the cemetery in the summer.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Any other questions on that? And that goes into page 13, continuation of highway budget. Seeing nothing. On page 14, we have street lighting, airport, and recycling. Start of the recycling center. Seeing no comment on 14.
Bill, I do have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, it's Jesse. So when I reviewed the new budget, I noticed that that my part-time line came back at $20,000. To have my part-timer there for 29 hours, I would need a slight increase of $1,112.
So you're looking for 120?
But 21,112.
Thank you.
Did I say 20? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is that it, Jesse? And
That's it.
all right. So that goes into page 15, which is the continuation of recycling and the beginning of other sanitation. All right. Seeing no comment. Page 16. Admin health, pest control, health agencies, admin welfare, intergovernmental welfare payments, and welfare vendor payment. Okey-doke. Page 17, Parks and Rec Department. All right. That goes in page 18, the continuation of Parks and Rec.
Library.
Oh, yeah.
Library starts on the very bottom of 17.
Oh, sorry. Diane, I'm sorry.
Almost forgot you, Diane.
I did not. Any questions besides why didn't I mention it on the library budget? Apparently not. All right, page 19. Other cultural and recreation, admin conservation, other conservation, debt service and capital land and improvements. Is Lisa Stoner on?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you want to discuss at this point? Is this the?
I'm not sure where, yeah. It's under land, under the capital outlay for the purchasing of land. Is that on the next?
Yeah, which line? Or what would that be?
So basically, Lisa, what you're asking for is for the board to add into the budget 25,000 for the purchase of, I'm not sure it's called an oxbow, but the land in conjunction with Holderness along the river. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we'll be taking 25 out of
Yes,
your
that
capital
was-
reserve as
That's
well,
correct.
right?
Those are the monies that we've been accumulating those over the last 5 years for exactly this kind of use. And we now have a collaboration with the town of Holderness and the state that will provide matching funds if we're able to get that grant. And has to happen is to be able to release those funds so that we can spend them and acquire.
So where would that? What line would that be?
It will be in the capital land.
Capital
and
land and improvements.
I don't have a number yet, but it'll
Okay.
be in that area.
She doesn't
All
have an ID number, but it is
I don't have a number yet, I'm
25,000.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Then we have page 20. We also include capital machinery, vehicles, and equipment.
And on the very first line item on page 20, I see it in column A and then not in E, but then it doesn't show up as a difference.
That's good catch.
Tell me which line you're talking about,
The
please.
first one, the
28.
town hall,
100,000.
it didn't carry across.
Oh,
So.
another
fix that.
savings. Good job, Zach.
Bill, I had a question about what the cemetery perpetual care reimbursement, what is that?
Maybe Jesse, did you want to?
He's not aware of that.
Actually, Ann.
He's not aware of it?
Ann
Okay,
can
Ann.
answer it.
Over the past several years, the town has requested funds from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund. And what has happened is that unbeknownst to
offset the cemetery's budget.
Right. Unbeknownst to me, we were actually taking principal amounts. We should never have taken principal amounts. And we actually took upwards of 35,000 of principal for perpetual care from those trust funds. So we need to return that money to those trust funds because we can never touch principal amounts, only interest in perpetual care. So that is that amount that's being returned to them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was interesting. All right. Any others on page 20? Any other comments or questions? Then we have page 21, transfer to capital reserve funds. And also some additional capital machinery items. All right, no comments on that, and that completes the draft budget. Frank, did you have a comment that you'd like to share at this point, or?
Sure. I apologize. I jumped on a little late, and this probably should have been said at the beginning. There was at a recent meeting, there was a statement made that it is unconscionable to give raises to non-contracted employees at this time. I would say it's unconscionable to give raises, not to give raises. Statements, those type of statements encourage employees belonging to bargaining units. In strong economic times, our dedicated employees rarely get a raise equal to what private companies need to offer just to remain competitive and retain talented employees. Our employees enjoy the security and benefits of working for our town. Their salaries generally are slightly lower than out in the private sector. As COVID hit us, library, highway, solid waste, town hall, park and rec, all salaried employees have still delivered services during COVID. Please consider acknowledging their effort by giving them some type of pay raise. I realize it's very tough for a lot of people, but it's not fair to have some employees getting raises and some not. I find that unreasonable. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Steve.
Thank you, Frank, for that. I just want to officially ask the board to reconsider that vote that they had on not giving the non-union employees raises and take that up right now, please.
All right.
Second.
All right, Tom seconds. Is there a?
And can I ask you a question about the bottom line number in the budget?
Sure, the 10,625,675.
Yes. So overall, we're showing a budget reduction of $2 million, but if I understand correctly, that's because the prior year's budget has the $2 million from the bond in it. So
Kathy actually has much more information on how you are right now. So I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, Zach, that she answer that question. Okay.
Did you have more to your question, Zach, before?
No, that was my primary question. I'm trying to understand exactly what that, now that all the calculations are in place, what is, we're showing a savings of $2 million, which sounds like, wow, we really did reduce the budget. My impression is that that's not effectively what's occurring because of the $2 million bond in the prior budget, but I just want to understand that before we proceed.
So the difference between the 2021 budget and the 21-22 budget without the bond is $427,000. With the board's adjustments, there was a, well, that would have, yeah, there was a reduction on the tax rate of $1.16. So the tax rate with the reductions is 86 cents, the tax impact. With the projected offsets, not including the one for the, well, with the Conservation Commission adding 25, they're also using 25 to offset it, so it doesn't change the bottom line. So with the projected offsets against the difference against the balance of, you know, what's between the two budgets, it's now estimated to increase the tax rate by 50 cents. So we really have gone from like $3 where we've shaved some stuff off and, you know, the board shaved some more stuff and now we're down to 50 cents.
So we're at plus 50 cents on the tax rate?
Yep.
Yes, Frank.
Did anybody put together the numbers of what a 1% increase, 2% increase would do for those employees?
That's Ann's turn to answer.
So I did some quick calculations today, Frank, and it looks like these are for non-union employees. 1% is equivalent to about 25,000, including pay and benefits. All the way, I did a 2% at 50 and a 3%. You're looking at about 75,000 added to the budget for those pay and benefits.
So I'm a little out of the loop. $25,000 on the tax rate, what does that do?
Nothing.
Thank you.
It takes
495,000 to increase or decrease by $1.
So, okay, it's not nothing. It's something, but it's very minimal.
So if 495,000 is $1, then that means 49,000 is 10 cents.
10 cents.
Yeah. So effectively what we're looking at here is 5 cents, 10 cents, or 15 cents.
Okay. Well, it can't be 15 cents, Zach, because we're saying 86. What did you come up with for an increase for $427,000?
If you said $490,000 was
495 raises or lowers the tax rate by $1.
By a whole dollar.
Yep. So a tenth of that raises it by 10 cents.
Right.
Yep.
Would be $49,000.
Okay.
Raises it by 10 cents. That gives you your midpoint there. So that's 10 cents. You go down to 25, it's 5. You go up to 75, it's 15.
Okay.
I mean, give or take a few cents, but roughly.
So there is some, as he just indicated, I misspoke when I said no impact, because there is an impact.
I think that this is more of a symbolic statement of the selectmen trying to save money than it is reasonable. I mean, it's just not reasonable. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Frank. John.
Would it be inappropriate to make a motion now to increase the non-union employees by 1.5%?
You made such a motion, I would second it, John.
I'll second it.
All right, so John made the motion. We had 2 seconds. I'll take Zach's initial second, but any discussion?
I think we can bear that.
So I did want to say, Frank, talking about salaries, we did go through a third party coming in to review all the salaries of the town, and we are in line with I think it was 11 other communities. So they are getting a fair pay. I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you.
Can I just make a comment to that? I'm sorry. Marianne, when you look at that information from that wage study, you'll find that most, if not all, or 75% of the employees are on the very low end of that minimum and maximum. And when we presented the numbers for the 2021, 2022 budget is what you'll see in that comparison. If it is less than 3%, you look like you're going up to 85% of the employees who aren't even on the low range anymore or close to the low range.
Gotcha. I'd have to look at more detail overall.
Yep.
And thanks.
And Frank, well, I'd like to say something for the fact that, yeah, I'm a state employee, retired state employee, 30 years. State employees usually get like the bad end of the stick, shall I say. You know, we generally suffer under like a 1.5, 1%, no contracts. That's kind of what I'm used to. Also, I've been a strong union member for those 30 years. In this case, I'm not saying that the staff are not deserving of a raise. This is a very trying time. We have a revenue issue, and we're going to be really hurting. And I think if the union hadn't already locked in a contract for 3%, it was basically a carryover until we renegotiate that next year. And in fact, all the employees will be benefiting at that point by the next contract that is negotiated. The 3%, our staff has been getting 3% for the past like 5 or 6 years, 3% annually. And that is a rather significant increase. So it's very, very much goes above like cost of living increase. I mean, it's a rather, hefty sum that the town of Plymouth has been carrying. I agree that next year we'll be kind of like equilibrating all the staff's salaries by the union negotiation. And I thought it was kind of unfortunate that we would have to, I didn't want to be handcuffed by a salary raise in the time of COVID when we're not getting revenue to compensate that, and it's falling on taxpayers. So, I mean, I think we're all sympathetic. Obviously, the board is, appears to be sympathetic with, putting a 1.5% increase, but, it's just reflected on another, 15 cents, whatever, onto the tax rate. So that's the offset is that people are going to be paying more in taxes than we were trying to not make them. And also the schools, is going to be going up as well. So it's not just our 50 cents or 60 cents or whatever it's going to end up to be. It's going to be something more to deal with when you're a taxpayer in Plymouth. So I do sympathize with our employees. I think it should be renegotiated, and it will be next year. But those are my comments, I guess. And so we have a motion. We have a second. Any other discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment. I think when you consider the economic prospects that we're facing and the fact that we have extremely low inflation and interest rates at historic lows, I think this is very fair. I felt that not giving them anything was, that I wasn't very comfortable with that, but I'm also concerned about trying to hold the line on taxes.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Mary Ann?
And that was 1.5?
1.5, right?
Aye.
Yep. And for all my bluster, aye.
Thank you all for reconsidering that. I appreciate that very much.
Do we need a motion for Jesse's $1,112?
Yeah, you can make a motion if you would for Jesse's amount and also the Conservation Commission. If you could add that in the same motion, we can do that all at once.
All right, well, let's do both of those.
Second.
Okay, Zach moves. Was that Neil?
Yes.
Okay, Neil seconds. Any discussion? Mary Ann?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Very good.
Mr. Chair, may I just have a quick moment to thank the chiefs for supporting the other departments? And I know it's a very difficult choice to raise taxes when we're having such a difficult time in town. I certainly understand that. And I certainly understand the decision not to go the full 3%, but this really is because we are having such a tough time and this is such a difficult time. It's meaningful to have any raise at this point. So thank you to the chiefs for supporting the other departments. It means a lot to the other department heads. I know that. So thanks, guys. And thank you to the gentleman that spoke on our behalf as well.
Thank you, Diane. And thank you, Frank.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yep. Thanks much. Okay, it's what time is it now? It is 6:51. I'm closing the hearing and bringing it back to the board. And I want to thank the department heads for participating, and also the budget committee as well. And Jason, would you mind talking about the collaboration of influence that you were talking about before?
Sure, that was a great budget hearing. If I can share the screen again.
Can you, or do you need?
It
You
says
can
the
now.
votes.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we were kind of just following up on talking about the trends that we're seeing in our data. So to recap just a little bit, going back into the November timeframe, the town had seen a spike in cases during that time frame around the second week in November, and you could see that here in the red dots. That's reported cases based on that spike. Well, the district's wastewater testing actually saw that spike about a week in advance of what the actual reported cases came out to be. So this is a really important piece of information ahead of when cases are actually becoming symptomatic and being reported. So we're actually able to see the increase of infection before it's even being reported in our wastewater. And as you can see, it trended downwards thereafter. We saw the same thing. It trended down in our wastewater. And then again in December, we saw a little bit of a spike in infection moving up again. So unfortunately, we've ended the sampling and analysis the end of December, like Scott had mentioned, because all this testing and analysis and data was being supported by a UNH grant that the laboratory at UNH had to do this. And unfortunately, that had expired. They had expended their grant funding at the end of December, and we can no longer support that moving forward singly as the district. So with that, I think that's kind of where we wanted to discuss with you tonight the importance of this testing. The hope is to provide, hopefully provide this again in the future for the community, and to be able to share that data with a lot of the larger facilities in town, which are our stakeholders. So that's kind of where things are at. This type of information is being tested at many large cities throughout the country. So one of them that I've been sharing information on is the Massachusetts Water Resource Authority, the largest wastewater facility in Massachusetts that serves the greater Boston area. And just this past week, they saw an increase in their wastewater higher than ever before. So that's kind of a warning flag for the greater Boston area, which, you know, we're kind of a subset of that city. So it may be a sign of, you know, increases here in the future, especially with the transient population we have, the many schools around, as well as folks coming up seasonally for winter sports and vacations, and using some of our facilities in town. So it's just an important piece that may be less invasive than individual testing even, and may be able to give us information to make decisions at some of our larger facilities or on a community-wide basis. So it's an important piece, and I see this as wastewater in general as something moving forward in the future as a useful tool. Wastewater was you know, previously known as something that we just need to deal with and get rid of, but now we're seeing wastewater being used as an asset for communities throughout the country. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jason. Does anybody have any questions?
I think that's great information.
I get to talk about the money side, Jason. So the cost of the test is, each sample is $200. Is that correct?
Yes, each individual sample is $200.
And what is being proposed out of this sample for the town to contribute? Is there any?
We haven't discussed that at this moment. We're just looking for future interest. If there's other interested parties that would be interested in joining in this collaboration, there are, you know, we took samples at the wastewater treatment plant only. Well, this has the potential to move further out within the sewer shed. So throughout the community, pump stations, we could sample individual buildings, you know, large buildings with large populations, and get this same data. So that's something that UNH has moved into their campus, into their community, and sampled at different locations, which actually pinpointed information for them. So the way they used it was to say a large dormitory building they were concerned about. So they tested the wastewater being discharged from that large building, and that gave them a you know, more of a point on the data as to what population was being impacted or impacting this information. So they were able to test individual buildings and then further test individually within that building based on the data that they received from the wastewater analysis. So that's kind of you know, a more direct pathway where we're testing at the wastewater plant and it's covering the entire community. So we can only really generalize where it's coming from or who the population was, but there's potential for more individualized testing, different areas of the collection system, whether we have a residential area. We really don't have any industrial areas, so that hasn't skewed the data as much as some other facilities that have a large industrial wastewater input. But it's something that I would just like to hear, whether it's the town's interest or other stakeholders or partners throughout the community that would be interested in this testing, and then maybe we can come back with a proposal.
Yep, Frank.
Yep. Hi, thank you. That was a great presentation. I just had a question about if you know, like from a, I guess more of a clinical standpoint, what they're doing with the information, because I did read on the CDC website that they were cautioning against using especially wastewater from wastewater treatment plants to guide kind of public health responses to the virus. They were more talking about what you said, checking a sewer shed so you could look at a specific building or cluster of buildings. But has there been any utility in once you test the water, then setting kind of public health policy with it, or is it more just collecting data points to see where the virus might be spreading more quickly?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, this is very much so science. It's not an exact proven correlation method to actual caseload. Obviously, the individual testing will give you a positive or negative result, for that individual person or that group of people. This is more of a tool to use as determining trends. So if we start seeing, fluctuations, let's say certain time periods, we can then determine what populations or assume what populations or, conduct further testing to determine where the virus or the infection is coming from. So I think that's really the way this testing is being utilized. It's a tool for trending, and a tool for further investigation, kind of less invasive than individual testing, where you can, maybe rule out an entire area and not have to individual test folks if you get low results.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Yeah, Amy.
Jason, have you looked into any further grants to fund your program?
We have looked at, in general, just through DES, and there's no available funding through the environmental services program, or the village district is not actually eligible for CARES Act funding. So only municipalities are eligible for CARES Act funding. So we have not looked at that, but I believe Scott has investigated several different potential funding sources with no luck.
That's right. We've looked at the Homeland Security grants. We've looked at the FEMA Gopher grants, and there's nothing available currently. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be funds coming sooner than later, but we will continue to look for additional grants for the project. I just think it's a well worth effort. It's a great additional mitigation tool that, if put in place, as Jason has explained, and I have to thank Jason and Jay for their time in putting together the information so that I could understand how it could be used further for a mitigation tool. So we will continue to look. One thing Jason doesn't mention is the testing through UNH is the $200 per test. On the commercial market, those tests are $2,000 per test. So it's a really good deal through the University of New Hampshire. But again, it's funds that need to be appropriated for the purpose. So we will continue to look for additional resources.
All right. Thanks, Scott, and thanks, Jason and Jay.
So yeah, if anyone is interested in learning more, or wants to have a conversation with other folks that maybe aren't in the room, to invite them on board, and we'll be more than welcome to further discussion if others are interested.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. New and other business. Is June?
Yep.
Oh, she's on?
Yes.
Okay, June Hammond Rowan and Joe Fagnan to talk about a TAP application and letter of intent.
Okay, so can you hear me? Yeah, so we had a TAP grant it's came up, and so there's a bunch of people who, you know, different towns that can apply for it. So while we were doing this South Main Street project, what we thought was maybe when you get down to the end of South Main by Rite Aid, and the sidewalk ends at Warren Street, and then so on Russell Street it comes down and it ends at Gould Terrace. So we're looking to round the corner and come up Warren Street and tie those together. And then there's also a section on Crawford Street that goes partway and just dead ends. So there's a potential to tie these all in to keep people, you know, so when people walk the loop that they're on a sidewalk, and I think it would enhance that end of town also. So the grant, you know, it's like $450,000, and so our match would be, you know, 80 to 90,000. So in my budget, I found areas where we could do that. I would take it out of sidewalks and then my regular road construction. And there's a couple other areas. It would literally put all my money funds in one basket. But for that amount of money for $450,000, especially to come in at the end of the Main Street project, it would be ideal. So the reason why we're talking to you tonight is because we need a letter of intent, something from the board that says that you support us on this, so we can give it to the state and let them know that we're kind of on board and headed in that direction.
Oh, I'm trying to follow along on a map. Can you describe where the extra sidewalks are again?
Yeah, so I have a map, but I don't have a way to put it up in front of you. But anyways, so the end of South Main by Rite Aid.
Yep, like right by Crawford Street.
Yeah, so if you go up Crawford Street, there's a sidewalk and it goes about halfway of Rite Aid's property along the fence, and it just dead ends.
And then it just stops, yep.
And so, we were thinking, it's kind of foolish that it doesn't serve a purpose, so maybe we try to bring it up to Pleasant Street. And if you go up onto Pleasant Street, the sidewalk ends at Gould Terrace coming down. I'm sorry, I didn't mean Pleasant, I meant Russell. So if you come down Russell and you get to Gould Terrace, it dead ends again. So we were thinking of coming down around the corner and tying into the end of because the sidewalk continues on South Main and stops at Warren Street. So there's a lot, that would keep a lot of people off, the roads on that end of town, and people walk that loop, and so to tie it together would be a really good enhancement project.
So we're talking about Crawford, a little bit of Russell, and Warren.
Yep.
Hey, Zach, that the map was included in the packet. I don't know if you have it or not.
Oh. Somehow I missed it.
It's
Sorry.
the last page that's attached to June's email.
Can I add in something here?
You
Sure.
look like you speak.
Oh, Dawn's email. That's why I'm confused. I see it now. Thank you.
June, we
I'm
can't
trying to
hear
help
you.
Joe with this. Basically, what happened was Kathy and his town manager brought to me the opportunity for this TAP funding, which is Transportation Alternative Program through New Hampshire DOT. I think it comes around every couple of years. So I had talked to Joe saying, well, what are your priorities in terms of trying to find where we could apply for this? Because it has to be for like sidewalks, bicycle lanes, that kind of thing, not road surface. And with all the project work around South Main Street, the drainage extends somewhat up to Russell. It's a little bit uncertain exactly, I would say, where this funding can go. But it's all about the timing. The TAP funding, we have to submit to New Hampshire DOT a letter of intent by February 5th. So tonight we're trying to ask the selectmen to just support this application with the goal to do what Joe just outlined. And in the next few days, we're going to be working with some consulting engineers to try to nail down just how far the money will go. So ideally, we might be doing this plus maybe a little bit more sidewalks. We've talked about Avery Street also. The problem is we don't know yet. It's kind of like it's just a timing thing. We have to get the permission tonight from the Board of Selectmen to go ahead to apply through this to start the process through this letter of intent, which is due the 5th. And then in the next week or so, Joe and I'll work with figuring out exactly, a rough cost estimate based on what he's talking about, and perhaps more if we can, maybe a little bit less. We can't promise right now those areas. Hopefully it could be a little bit more. The one thing to point out about the Department of Transportation's TAP program is that you have to apply for a minimum of $400,000 total project cost, and it requires a 20% match from the town. So we're asking the board to authorize a letter of intent up to $450,000, which would be a $90,000 match from the town. And the final numbers, we wouldn't exceed that obviously, but the final numbers we'll figure out in the next week before we get that letter of intent in. And then the actual application isn't due for another 5 or 6 weeks. So at some point in March, we would have more detailed information. And we certainly be back before then the letter of intent is also non-binding. So that's the other good news. So it's just asking for permission to go ahead, and then we'll figure it out as over the weeks ahead.
So, hey, June, this is something that is outside of, we don't have to go through our planning commission for these TAP funds?
No, I don't believe so. No, we've done this based on files I've seen from the town manager. The town has applied a couple times. I think it's every 2 years. So probably in 18 or 19 and 16 or 17. I'm not sure the exact timeline. And we haven't been successful. I mean, it's obviously a competitive process. So we have to make the argument about, the need for this. And but it's 80% is a good money to get. And it's just a matter of making sure that we have that at least, up to the $90,000 of match to apply for a total project cost of up to about $450,000. The timeline for construction probably wouldn't be till 2022 or 23, possibly even longer. It takes a while to get through the process, do the design and engineering and all that. So,
Joe, can you provide a little more detail on what you're hoping to cut from your budget to come up with the 90K?
Yeah, so I get money every year for sidewalks, so there's 20,000 there, and then I have a $60,000 budget for road construction, and then there's also another line item that comes from the town hall. There's another budget up there that will help fund us there, but so yeah, the money's there. Especially the sidewalks. I mean, to get that kind of money, this is why I'll take money whenever I can get it. But when it comes to funding these projects, I have to try to find it. And so I have it now, but for how long, if we have to, obviously, if we don't get this grant, then I'll spend the money elsewhere.
The chair want a motion?
Yeah, I guess.
I move that the board expedite a letter of intent to the town planner and the highway superintendent to move forward on this application process for the grant.
All right, Neil moves. Is there a second?
Second.
John seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none. Mary Ann, your vote?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Zach? John?
Aye.
Bill? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, June.
We'll be busy working on this soon.
Thanks, June. Joe?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, any committee reports? Thank you.
The planning board the other night,
Yeah.
if somebody can update.
Well, Mary Ann.
Yeah, we were putting forth two questions regarding changing some things about the ag zone as well as the industrial zone. And, we had a lot of good questions and issues brought up. And so we've decided to push those questions back a year until next year and continue or start working with some more townsfolk, especially folks who live in those areas, to come up with some other solutions.
And thankfully, June joined our crew in order to do that for us.
Just in time.
Yep.
All your fault now, June.
It sure will be.
Well, I'll try next year. We'll see where we go. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Any other committee reports? Seeing none. Any public comments?
I just want to say thank you to the select board for all of your hard work this year, and I do appreciate it.
Thank you, and our budget committee as well.
Yeah.
And also the department heads, and the town manager, and
And the selectmen.
Thank you.
All the team effort.
All the people.
I was going to say,
We
since we
appreciate
have,
you attending our budget meetings and asking the questions. So
since we have Amy here, can we get a very brief report on where the school board landed on their budget?
So we have a meeting coming up the first, what day is it? February 1st. So we're going to have a school board meeting, and then we have our first public hearing, which will be available in person and via Zoom. So people can get their questions answered, just like I got all my questions answered at that meeting on the 1st of February. That's all I got, Zach.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Lisa,
What's that?
Lisa Donor.
Oh, Lisa.
Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity while Jason's on the line to thank him very, very, very much for improving the taste of my water coming out of the tap. I don't know what you did, but it made a huge difference.
Never tell.
I'm sure your rates will go up. No, I'm only kidding.
That's fucking
There's been no proposed rate changes this year.
Excellent.
Thank you, Jason.
All right. In that case, I'll entertain a motion, seeing no other public comments.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, John moves, Zach seconds. John, your vote.
Aye.
Mary Ann.
Aye.
Neil.
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Bill. Aye. We're adjourned.
Thanks, guys.